Right. Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to Kim's video journal. Today is the 11th of April 2020, and we're doing our usual, which is to do our questions, and then Kim's going to have a chat about whatever she'd like to have a chat about today. So let's see. Questions first. What is your name?
Kim Tolton.
How old are you?
56.
What is your date of birth?
22nd of July 1963.
Who are you talking to?
My husband Steve.
How many children have you?
4.
What are their names?
Leslie, Christopher, Carly and Michael.
Do you have grandchildren?
I do.
What are their names?
I have Alfie and Alea, Sky and Corey and Mia.
What's your favourite colour?
Orange.
What's your favourite out of these? Peach, apple, strawberries?
Apple.
What was your job?
I was an advanced nurse practitioner working with patients with bowel cancer and specialising in end-of-life care.
What other jobs have you done?
I was a jeweller. I worked in a fish and chip shop, and I worked in a mushroom farm, and I worked for Tesco's when I was in college. I was a childminder, and I was also something similar. Oh, nursery nurse. I was a Stampin' Up demonstrator. Can't remember anymore now.
What was the song you danced with your granddad?
Moon River.
Where did you go on holiday each Easter with your family?
Caister, and we should be there this weekend, and we can't be.
What was the name of yours and Sean's pony?
Angus.
What is your favourite hobby?
Horse riding.
What town do we live in?
Battlesbridge.
What day is Christmas Day?
25th of December.
Hold up 3 fingers.
1, 2, 3.
Name a Carpenter's song that you like to sing to.
On Top of the World.
Okay, have you got your book?
I have.
There's an introduction in there. We'd like you to read it.
My glasses on. Small bites, salads, soups, curries, stir fries, I think, grills and marinade, noodles and rice and sweet things.
Okay. Is there anything about this week you've enjoyed or not enjoyed?
I've enjoyed the sunshine in the garden. Did a bit of gardening, that was quite nice.
something that you miss because of the lockdown, but we get around it by talking to certain members of the family in a different way.
Oh, doing FaceTime with my family.
And what did we do on that? That was a bit different because of the time of year.
I don't know. What did we do?
Easter eggs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. That was great fun. We did a virtual egg hunt for all our grandchildren. It was great fun. And I was the one finding them all, but they all had to tell me where to go to look. And then I found them for them. And I hadn't been told where to look. I was guided by my grandchildren. It was good fun.
There you go. So some good stuff. Okay. We've gone through most of the questions that you wanted to do each week, or subjects, I should say, each week.
Yep.
I think you were going to ramble on, but then we decided we were going to have a chat about, because obviously this is two years down the line since your diagnosis and your particular diagnosis of PCA. And because of PCA, we're going to discuss about the things that you miss, that we all take for granted with sight and everything. And that's it. So over to you. So the things that PCA's had an effect on you, and the things that we take for granted, and the things that you miss, and how you got round it and such.
Wow. I think the first thing I really, really missed was reading. I've been an avid reader for, well, since I was old enough to read. So many, many years, decades. And I've got a huge collection of books still sitting in my library in our office. And I can't read them. If I'm lucky, on a good day, I might manage to read a sentence or two. And then the waggly waves come in front of my eyes, or it just becomes impossible. And then the Alzheimer's side of it, I just lose concentration, and it's so frustrating. And I really desperately miss reading. And I have tried audiobooks, and they do have a role, but most of them are very monotone and told in not a particularly exciting way, and I just find it really frustrating. I miss going to the cinema, because all I do now is fall asleep because I can't follow what's going on stage, on the screen. And that one I haven't been able to get around. It's just, as soon as the cinema goes dark, that's it, I'm out. I'm asleep, I'm snoozing for the rest of the film. Very frustrating. And after I left nursing, I became a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and because I have crafted all my life. My grandmother was a seamstress. My mum was a very good sewer as well, and they taught me really well. And I right up until my children were going up to junior school, I made all of our clothing. I made all our clothing, I made all our drapes, everything. and I just loved it. It was just part of who I was, part of what my family were like, with avid crafters. I used to even buy an old bric-a-brac and then sticking shells all over it, and great ways of making gifts for family and friends very cheaply, because I didn't have a lot of money at all when my children were small. So I just had to do my best and make my way. So when I did take early retirement from nursing, I became, as I say, a Stampin' Up demonstrator, and I absolutely thrived on it. I used to hold classes teaching people how to craft with fabrics, with paint, with all sorts of medium. And it was great fun, and it was a great way of keeping in contact with other people. I loved that whole sense of being with other people and teaching other people, which kind of is a carry on from my job as a nurse, because you're constantly teaching student nurses and such like. So when my diagnosis was eventually made, because we knew I had Alzheimer's a couple of years ago, but it took longer to get the diagnosis of posterior cortical atrophy, and I thought it was just my eyes were deteriorating, and I knew that I was struggling more and more trying to run my craft classes. I used to go to great big craft events and everything and demonstrate, it got to a point where I did lots of videos. I've got loads of videos on my channel as well of crafting, and I started to struggle actually talking to my clients, and in the end it got to a point where I just had to admit defeat and stop all my classes. So all my craft classes, all my sewing classes, my painting classes, they all stopped, and that meant I lost all those contacts with other people. So I miss that desperately. But you just have to, I just have to find other ways around things. So for example, one of the other things, I always used to be the one that did the decorating. So I would paint walls, I'd use textures on walls, I loved wallpapering. I was brilliant at doing all the cutting in when you're painting around everywhere. I used to upcycle pieces of furniture, loved it. And now I can't even paint a single straight line. It has created some interesting moments, so such as when I got some new hutches for my rabbits, I decided I wanted it in two colours. I wanted grey at the bottom and Cadbury's blue at the top. And I was getting really frustrated with Steve, because he kept painting over what I was doing, and eventually he had to say, and I was getting frustrated, eventually he had to say, Kim, you're actually going up at an angle, you're not actually painting what you think you're painting. And so I'm not allowed to paint anymore, unless it's something very simple, very basic, doesn't take too long, because otherwise my attention span's gone and it all goes to pieces. But I don't see the point in getting frustrated over it. I get a little bit frustrated, but I don't see the point in getting frustrated over it all, because I know that my life is finite. I know that I'm probably going to die before I should do. And so I have to make the most of every moment. So there are things that I can do, and they're the things that I concentrate on. Can I do them independently? Probably not. I mean, I can't even put a pair of socks on that match. I don't know if you can see my socks down the bottom there. I've got mismatched socks on because I couldn't find a pair. So I concentrate on things that I know well, things that are so familiar. So that's baking bread. I love making bread. I can't measure it out anymore, but I know I have a teaspoon of salt, a teaspoon of sugar, a teaspoon of yeast, and a little bit of oil and water, and that's it. And then I can get on with it then until it's time to turn the oven on, and then I have to ask Steve to put the oven on to the right temperature and put the dough in once the dough is risen and proved, and blah blah blah. And I love making curries, and I love making food, so it's fairly simple but tasty food, and I enjoy doing that. I have always enjoyed feeding my family. That's Cancerian in me, I think. And so I sort of concentrate on the things that I can do rather than things that I can't do, because I can't control the things I can't do. So what's the point in wasting energy on something I have no real control over? Yeah, I guess that's it.
Okay. Well, that's today's one done then. Thank you everyone for listening and watching, and everyone stay safe, and hopefully we will see and chat to you next week. Everyone take care.